Tonight on Business Live, tackling food security concerns amid the pandemic, we explore how crucial it is for government to increase spending on the agri sector in the mid-year budget. The finance minister is expected to announce an unemployment benefit program, but some experts do not think it is practical now. And also later on the Joy Business Van, a well-patronized breakfast joint on the University of Ghana campus hit by the COVID-19 pandemic. What would it take to recover? We hear from David Tego, who is owner of Rowi's Breakfast Factory. Stay with us for details. Well, around this time tomorrow, we would have heard government's budget statement for the rest of the year, and was subjected to analysis. It is a crucial media review because of the COVID-19 pandemic, which has changed everything. Now, one of the key areas we will be keenly following is how much government plans to spend on the agri sector, and if there would be any new policies to ward off concerns about food security during this pandemic. Well, joining me to discuss expectations is Anthony Morrison, who is Chief Executive Officer of the Chamber of Agribusiness Ghana, and the head of the Agri Desk here at JoyNews, Joseph Opoku-Gakpo, who is also our parliamentary correspondent. I'll begin with Joseph Opoku-Gakpo, who is in Parliament for us now. Joseph, how is Parliament gearing up for the presentation tomorrow? I think you may have to unmute, Joseph.
All right. I just went ahead to do that. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you perfectly, Joseph.
So, as expected, the expectations are very much divided along partisan lines, with the minority side expecting nothing new, expecting what they describe as a propaganda statement, and the majority side remaining very confident that the finance minister is coming up with something exciting, especially in the light of the COVID-19 situation we're seeing.
So are we to expect any changes, seeing that we are dealing with a pandemic?
A number of things have actually been predicted as the likely content of what the finance minister will be saying tomorrow. We know that this will be more like the final media budget review for this particular administration going into the upcoming elections. And COVID-19 has made very huge impact on the economy. I've been having conversations with some of the members of Parliament Finance Committee, including Daniel Ochima-Boaji and Anthony Efa, and their expectations are specific and concrete policies that the finance minister will actually announce in terms of the efforts being made to keep the interest rates as low as possible, to keep inflation very much on the low, and particularly to manage the country's debt stock, which everyone is virtually predicting that because of the borrowing we've done to deal with COVID-19 and the expected huge revenue shortfall that we are seeing as a result of the closure of the borders and the restrictions and all, are things that everyone is expecting a specific policy direction from the finance minister on how we will end up dealing with some of all of those challenges. And again, the specific demand for accountability on COVID-19 related expenditures following the approvals that Parliament has given, from the 600 million cedis that's going to small businesses and all, everyone is expecting that the finance minister will appeal the House on the difference that some of those amounts the Parliament approved has actually made over the last 3 months or so.
All right, Joseph, just hold on a bit. Anthony Morrison, the Chief Executive of the Chamber of Agribusiness Ghana, joins us. Mr. Morrison, great to have you. I just want you to listen to Professor Gofer Bachmann, who earlier spoke with my colleague Sandra Afreno about how important it is that government increases its investments in the agri sector.
Right. And what will be the mainstay of our economy? So if we say let agriculture lead, that is different from saying agriculture becoming the mainstay of our economy. So you are looking at the low-hanging fruits in terms of the sectors that can deliver immediate results to pushing.
And which are the low-hanging fruits for you?
And that is where perhaps agriculture is key. If you look at the effect of COVID-19 in terms of price development, it's totally within our control. Even the disruption to the global supply chain and the fact that we are not getting that imported item to supplement local production, we've seen the effect in terms of price development. So I'm expecting that we will strike a good balance between meeting the expenditure drive of health and balance that with agriculture and link that to agribusiness. And then you can also link that to manufacturing. Why am I saying so? If you look at Ghana, we are surrounded by neighbors who have food challenges and food deficit. Togo, Burkina Faso, as we speak right now, 45 million Nigerians are heading into food and nutrition crisis. That is huge investment for us. We have also signed up onto the African Continental Free Trade. And if you look at the food import or the food deficit in Africa, it's over $35 billion.
The thoughts of economist Gofer Bachmann there. Mr. Morrison, do you share in his sentiments? How crucial is it that we increase investment in the agri sector, especially during this time of the pandemic?
Thank you very much, and a very good afternoon to your viewers. Yes, it's very crucial at this very important and critical time that as a country we are able to put together a very strategic pandemic strategy that will support the food security challenges of the country, and at the same time improving on the socioeconomic well-being of especially the rural farmers, who constitute about 57% of the economy. Most of the things the rural farmers do has to do with agriculture. So I very much agree with Professor Gofer. His understanding of the industry is top-notch. What I want to say is that at this point, you would have expected the government to come up with an agriculture or food pandemic strategy that shows on board.
Well, we are being told that is in the works, so hopefully we would see that one come through.
But we've been in this for the past 6 months. I mean, this is very critical. You can't wait for food security to take a nosedive before coming up with a strategy. Strategy should come out, I mean, within the first 15 days. And this should actually inform everyone, this is the mindset of the government. This is how the government, the country should be driven on with our changing taste for food. So you expect that we come up with a very aggressive and robust local content food production policy, which will obviously drive the market and consumption. Now, when it comes to the consumption approach, what are we looking at? Are we buying more local food? Are we producing more local food? Are we adding value to more local food? What is the strategy across board? Okay. So those are some of the areas we are looking at. And for now, I would expect that government should put a brake on some of their ongoing flagship projects and look at how to envelop all the necessary monies that are going in forms of piecemeal to all these interventions into one project. Because now we're talking about food security, no more about flagship projects, okay? Put all these monies and let's address a national strategy.
Okay.
If the whole idea is supposed to look at how many tons of maize we can produce per production season, rice, because we need to import, reduce the rice importation rate. Currently, we are doing 1.8 in terms of consumption, okay? And we are producing 1 million. Can we move up and do 1.5 and have 300,000 in deficit in terms of importation? We need to look at a number of strategies. We consume a huge amount of maize, okay? Same applies to wheat. Are there any strategy to cap the importation of wheat so that we bring in some local substitutions? So this is not the strategy. And for me, I would have thought that some monies that have been doled out to SMEs and what have you, over 70% of SMEs run their businesses on importation. So in terms of pandemic, you don't give money to businesses that will keep importing. So you give businesses to the economy, the economy of value addition, just like Professor Bobkin have earlier on attested.
So we are not expecting a major policy statement for the agri sector when the minister makes his presentation tomorrow, because it's not a budget for a policy statement, but a media review. And so you talk about domestic production, and government has also indicated that it wants to invest in that because of the pandemic. We have to try and grow locally and be able to eat as well what we grow. And so we've had other farmers, like the peasant farmers, talk about a stimulus package for the sector and all of that, which we haven't heard so much about. that should be an issue of concern, shouldn't it be?
Yes, I agree with you. One other issue that should be of major concern is the post-harvest technology sector, and also the support that we've mentioned earlier to farmers. Currently, farmers are accessing the PFJ subsidies at 50%. Now, myself and peasant farmers have agreed that, yes, if we can look at a threshold of 75% for farmers, because all we need to do now is to produce more food. No other country is going to give us food if we do not have any. Then also, you want to come into the area of vegetables and fruits. What is being done to support the fruit value chain? I mean, last year, the fruit value chain brought in a lot of money in excess of $200 million. Okay, what is being done now to support their intervention? Value addition, if you look at Blue Skies, PHW, and many others, have reduced their production, okay, as a result of some of the export markets not being sustainable.
Right.
What are we doing locally to make sure that we are able to forestall all that? And we have to look also at the aquaculture industry. The aquaculture industry is almost on its knees. You've seen the report from the aquaculture chamber. So we need to look at it. And for me, this is the unique opportunity to say that, okay, as a country, let's look at the CADEP and the strategy where we increase our budgetary allocation for the agriculture sector from 10% to probably 20%.
Right, I just have to butt in because you're running out of time on this one. I just want to give Joseph Opoku-Gakpo, who is also the head of our agri desk here at JoyNews, to give us some perspective as well. So, Joseph, we've talked about a stimulus package. Mr. Morrison talked about post-harvest technology to enable us to store up some food, especially during these times. These are just about a few of the issues, aren't they?
Well, just to make this point, it could be a platform for policy statements, because usually we hear policy statements being announced in budget statements, and this is a review of the budget. So if the government has a new policy, that'll just to make the point about the comment you made earlier. It's possible that we could hear new policy statement going forward tomorrow when the finance minister actually delivers his address. But we can expect that it will be heavy on agriculture, mainly for the reason that we've all heard from the Minister for Agri himself, repeatedly painting the picture that the agri sector is facing absolutely no problem even in the light of this pandemic. Things are booming. For him, they are ramping up production when it comes to plans for food and jobs. And he touted it repeatedly as a sector that has virtually showed a lot of resilience in the light of the COVID-19 impact. Although what we're seeing on the ground with regards to farmers, the Seed Traders Association explaining that their cost is going up by 20-30%. Farmers complaining about difficulty in getting access to inputs like fertilizers and all. Despite all of those concerns, the minister paints a very gloomy, nice picture of the agri sector, which gives me the indication that tomorrow, if Ken Ofori-Atta wants to blow the government horn about how well they've managed COVID-19, he will be quite heavy on the agri sector. And again, for that particular reason that the minister has painted an extraordinary picture of how the industry look like, don't expect any extraordinary policy intervention in terms of stimulus package for farmers or stimulus package for those in the agro-processing industry in tomorrow's budget. Because again, you repeatedly hear the government make the point that virtually everything is rosy in that particular sector. Although the reality we've seen on the ground, right from when the lockdowns hit and the prices of food shot up to the tune of 20-30%, even some foodstuffs having their prices double, that we've not seen a decline in over the last 3-4 months. These are things that should engage the government's attention, but I will not be surprised if those specific challenges are not highlighted in tomorrow's media review, because the Agri Minister himself tells us everything is well and good.
All right, and just to the point you make about the policy statement, we are not expecting a major policy statement on the agri sector, are we?
I am not expecting anything extraordinary, particularly because of the point I'm making about how the Minister of Agri himself has said there aren't very troubling issues with regards to COVID-19. What I think we can probably expect is that, in fact, over the last 3-4 months, we've seen some positives in the agri sector, to be fair. We've heard, for example, that a lot of cashew processing companies, about 7 of them, that were not getting local cashew to process, because majority of it was being exported to Asia, have actually come back on stream because of the fact that the borders are closed and a lot of industries in Asia have actually closed down. So then we are processing it locally. That, for example, has been a positive impact. We've seen the consumption of rice ramp up to a certain extent. Those have been positive. So in terms of comments and deliveries by the finance minister with regards to the agricultural sector, I'm expecting that he may end up reviewing growth targets when it comes to the growth of the local agricultural industry a little upwards in this media review that he will do. Although the reality again is that for a lot of smallholder farmers who are engaged in the production of crops like mango and pineapple, which are subsequently aggregated and exported, they have been hit badly. But the positive sides are there, which to a certain extent, if you ask me, outweighs the negatives. And so my expectation is that we may see some form of review of the growth figures and all when it comes to the agri sector.
I want to thank you both. Thank you so much, Joseph. I appreciate your input, as well as Anthony Morrison, who is the Chief Executive of the Chamber of Agribusiness Ghana. We will be watching, and I guess we'll discuss the outcome tomorrow. Now, one of the measures you expect the finance minister to announce is an unemployment benefit program. This is to cater for individuals who have lost their jobs during this pandemic. But how workable is this? Labour consultant Austin Gama is not sure government has what it takes to roll out this program.
So your reaction to the finance minister's comment?
Obviously not a reaction, but my point of view. The reality is that we have some data in Ghana here, whether it's with Ghana Statistical Service, with Labour Department, or with ISE, or whoever. Certainly it's incomplete, but from what I know. And therefore, the inadequacies of information that is not available makes the benefit payment, if anything at all, a non-starter to start with. It's a good thing, which I have also, previous governments, present government, have been advocating and talking about. But I think that to be real, we're talking about some 14 million people who are available and ready for the job market. And it's just about, if SNIT data is anything to go by, just about some maybe 2 million plus people might be paying SNIT. That means they are in some kind of job. And therefore, if 10 million people or 8 million people will be benefiting from unemployment benefits, I think that burden will be too huge to be swallowed by the population based on what we know already about the capability of the economy to keep us going the way we are. So I think the wise thing to do is for government to continue and whoever comes into the saddle going forward, we should ensure that we open up the space for a lot more investment, praying that the pandemic will not be there or will slow down, to enable us to expand the economy, which is actually the function of any serious government.
Now, moving on to the Joy Business Van episode for tonight. David Tego operates Rowi's Breakfast Factory, one of the most patronized breakfast joints on the University of Ghana campus. But when the university recorded his first COVID-19 case, he had to shut down and his business took a hit. He's just beginning to reopen, and as he makes adjustments to his business, David is looking forward to what more release would be announced in the media budget review. He'll join us in a bit, but here's a bit of his success story on today's episode of the Joy Business Van.
Hi, my name is David Tego. I'm co-founder Rowi's Breakfast Factory.
Breakfast is said to be the most important meal of the day, but it could also be a meal you can have all day if you like. That's if you patronize Rowi's Breakfast Factory. David Tego is co-founder of the breakfast joint, which was started 6 years ago whilst he was a student at the University of Ghana. Not because he and his partner really thought they could be good at running a business, not at all. They needed to solve a problem.
The problem that we identified was that there was no breakfast restaurants here in Pentagon. Everybody from Pentagon went to campus to have breakfast. So we decided that, why don't we try our hands on this? It's not that difficult to make, it's not that difficult to start. So we started something here.
Right there at the African Union Hall, or Pentagon, as the facility is popularly called by students, they started specializing in mainly English and American breakfast menus. The co-founders, who were students of economics, may have just found a way to apply the law of demand and supply.
2 nuggets.
Is that what you feel like eating?
Yeah.
David recalls the early days of operations, having received funding from family and friends.
So we started making the food in our rooms and started serving around to our fellow students. So we'll go to room, we'll knock, we did flyers, pasted, we posted this, social media, everybody knew, we texted that, because at that time, WhatsApp wasn't so big in 2010, 2011. That was when we were trying to conceive the idea. So send text messages, send WhatsApp message that, if you want breakfast, if you want food, for this period, this whole week, come to this room. If you don't, and you want us to deliver, call us, we'll come and deliver to your rooms.
Great stuff. Of course, with the COVID-19 pandemic, everything has changed. David has had to make adjustments. He joins me to share more. Great to have you on our program tonight, David. So you had to shut down operations for about 3 months. That surely took a toll on your finances, didn't it?
Yes, it surely did. We shut down from the 17th of March when Legon was hit with the first positive COVID-19 case. So we resumed operations about 3 weeks ago when the president announced that the final year students could go back to school.
And so what were you doing during the period you had shut down operations? Were you doing delivery services? How did you adjust?
No, we couldn't work at all because Legon had a strict policy because they had 2 positive cases. The whole university had to be shut down, disinfected, contact tracing done. So we fully resumed 3.5 weeks ago. The president announced in June that the final year students would go back.
And so you reopened 2 weeks ago, like you indicated. So what has changed with reopening? Suddenly things are not the same. You have to observe some social distancing protocols. You don't have so many people on campus like you used to. What are the adjustments you're making?
So we've mainly had to do delivery. So we've had to look at our business model in terms of delivery and social media branding. We've had to advertise more on social media because we've had more deliveries because we can't do dining because of the COVID-19 protocols. So we've had to install Veronica buckets, we've had to install hand sanitizers, we've had to change our cleaning regime. We've had to put our staff on the skeleton program because we can have full staff working at the kitchen at the same time.
Okay, so final question to you. Did you apply for the stimulus package? And for businesses like, or business owners like you, what would you be looking out for when the finance minister makes his presentation to Parliament tomorrow?
No, we decided not to apply for the stimulus package. I think a stimulus package is a laudable concept and scheme by the government. What we will be looking at from tomorrow from the finance minister is a long-term plan. Businesses were halted at this time. Businesses had to delve into their investments to pay their salary and stuff. But we are looking at getting to the next point, next phase in business, because we need to accelerate growth. So we're looking at the moratorium on the payments, the loan to be extended. We're looking at more funds to be given to businesses. I mean, taxes have been waived, which was a very good thing because our taxes, corporate taxes have been waived. But we are looking at more revenue being given, more stimulus money being given to businesses like us.
All right. I wish you all the best as you have reopened. Perhaps we'll pass through and have breakfast at your joint when I'm on the University of Ghana campus. Great to speak with you, David. And that's Business Live tonight. Thanks for watching, everyone. Tomorrow, we're covering the media review presentation by the Finance Minister right here on this network at 10 a.m. You don't want to miss. My name is Darryl Kwao. More news on our website, myjoyonline.com/business.